Welcome to the Get Real with King Arthur show. You know, we try to talk about living well and all its various facets. So today we have an interior designer, Callie Garcia.
Hello.
And thank you for coming, Callie.
Thank you for having me.
And the first question I have to ask her is, would you define your job as an interior designer as opposed to an interior decorator?
Oh, that's a great question. There is a difference between decorator and designer. As a designer, you can do more intense projects that involve construction and taking down walls and repositioning plumbing versus a decorator who would just finish an existing space and put the finishing touches on the room.
Do you ever recommend that a person who's already in a space knock out a wall or move something around like that?
Sometimes, yes. If we want to make a room bigger, or if we want to add storage, like if we need to put a closet together or put a closet into the room, or if we want to make a bathroom bigger, sometimes we need to take a wall out.
Why do you think it's not sufficient for when you move into a place, go down to the furniture store and pick out whatever is lying around there, and then move into the house and just accept what's there? If it's a cement floor or wood floor or carpet floor or whatever, why bother?
That's an interesting question. I think that when you live in a space, your personality should take over the room. Who you are as a person should be evident in what goes into your home. And so just picking out a random piece is fine, but what is that random piece going with that makes the space feel like home to you?
I was in a book club and we went to a very wealthy home. And I was very uncomfortable there. I wonder if it was me or maybe something about the interior design that wasn't very good.
Interesting. It could be both. It could be...
What's your best guess on that?
My best guess is that the homeowner is not conscious of how her guests feel in the space.
Well, now, one question I have to ask is, well, what are your aesthetics? In other words, what kind of designer, what kind of design do you encourage your customers to have?
When we put together a project, we try to extract the client's preferred aesthetic. So it's my job to learn the customer so well to make something that works for them, that is not necessarily a trend, but something that they could live in for a very long time comfortably.
Now, if someone says to you, Well, I'm a retired railway man, engineer. I want you to make it kind of reflect that career I've had. What would you say?
Wow, I've never had a theme like that before. So I would say we would need to go to a railway to see what that was like, to understand what the aesthetic of a railway looks like. How's that?
That's better.
Yeah,
Some of us are hard of hearing.
that's okay. I'm gonna hold on.
Now,
to this.
what did you say about this guy that wanted, or woman wanted to reflect his or her career as a railroad engineer?
So that's an interesting theme to work with. I have never done anything like that before, and where I would start is going to a train depot and going to see what that looks like and taking an inventory of what that job was like for that client and how we can bring the feeling and the essence of the railway into the home.
So you're adaptable.
Oh, yes.
Oh, okay. Now, I've always wanted to talk to you about, I can't even pronounce the word, feng shui or something. It's some kind of mystical thing where you open yourself up to the spirits, and they tell you, no, your door should face the east. No, and the door should, and the bed should be facing the west. And are you involved in that mysticism?
I am not trained in feng shui, and feng shui is a specific type of design that is inspired by Chinese living, to my knowledge. And it does have to do with how you position your bed and where the door is and how the energy and the qi of your space flows. And according to the ancient Chinese philosophy, qi is in everything. It is the energy of all things. And so how energy moves in your space is a facet of how feng shui functions, but I am not a feng shui designer.
But do you believe that there is a certain energy in how things are arranged or appear?
I do believe there is something to how we arrange our space and how furniture should be placed inside of it. And it goes to, like, you have a bookcase over here, which I think is probably in the right space for the room. We would not put this bookshelf right in the middle of your room because it would block all of your usable space and all of your walking space. And so there is a proper order to where things should line up.
I like books because I taught literature and I love reading, and books make me feel company.
They have a life inside of them.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Now, so you believe there's a certain energy that comes from how you arrange things in your condo or house.
Yes, I do think that.
What kind of energy?
Well, it could be good or bad, right?
Yes.
If a house is disorganized and cluttered, that could say there's some bad energy in there. But if a house is clean and tidy and organized, that could say that house has a better energy than the disorganized house.
Do you think some people just lack a sense of aesthetics?
I think people lack a sense of personality, which translates to
Oh.
lacking a sense of their own
Oh,
identity.
we've opened a can of worms. People lack personality?
Yes.
Tell us more about it.
Well, I think you run into people often who, I'll just use a past example, where a client would be afraid of color. And so if we're designing a space and they're focused on having just neutrals in their home, I can sense that they're afraid to step out and make a more bold decision because something in them doesn't feel comfortable with a more over-the-top choice. So they feel more comfortable with a gray sofa, whereas you're very comfortable with a red sofa, and that tells me who you are versus who they are.
You know, I went to a retirement home where my ex-roommate had, I don't know, it was Alzheimer's or just memory problems. A very fine a man, he was a good roommate. And it was an ex-school room. And all the walls and the furniture were a beige color. And I felt like screaming and saying, I can't stand it. Is that, am I abnormal?
No, we would have had the same response. I hate beige furniture, it's so sad.
And I said, how can you not be depressed in this? Everything was neat and clean and whatnot, but, I got the heebie-jeebies.
It feels very stale, right? There's a stale feeling in a space like that.
What kind of feeling?
Stale, like stale bread.
Stale bread, no. Now, what would you say is a major mistake that people have in designing their interior or building an interior?
They don't consult the designer early on in the process. So a good example is a project I'm working on right now. The builder and the drafter created the architectural plan without consulting me, and so there are details now that are missing in that structure that would have been a better option.
Well, climb down the ladder of abstraction. What do you get specific, if you can, about what details?
Sure. So something they decided to do was to raise the ceiling to 14 feet, which in aesthetically can look really cool, but practically it doesn't make a lot of sense for functional living, because when you think about it, like, heat will rise, so your house will get very, very cold when your ceilings are that high up.
That's exactly what I would say. If I go into a space that's a high ceiling, I feel there's a coldness.
Yes.
In it.
The other thing that happens when you have these really high ceilings is you have to design the room back down to a normal height. So then you have all this unaccounted ceiling height or wall space from about 8 feet to 14 feet that's just sitting there blank. And so the question is, what do you do with that space? So like in your kitchen art, your cabinet height is at 8 feet, which is standard and normal for most kitchens. So in this kitchen, we had to build the cabinets all the way down to a normal standard height of 8 feet so that you could reach the cabinet. And then you have all this gap in the ceiling from the top of the cabinet to the top of the house. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does make sense.
So it's an impractical, empty space to have.
Okay, what about some other things that people do wrong that you know, in designing? You said that they will put the ceiling too high sometimes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'd say another mistake that people make when designing their space is not accounting for their floor and not accounting for their walkway. There should always be a natural walkway when you arrange your furniture from entry to entry. So you should have a clear path from door to door that makes logical sense to get through without anything blocking it off.
Now you'll notice that I have this big coffee table.
Yes.
And I have it because I like to have groups in that can talk one to another. So there's a big space in the middle and people around
Yes.
that can talk. And whatever. I had a student once when I was teaching in Ohio who was a Assembly of God pastor, very fine young man, a good student. He was a joy. And he said, I'd like you to come and look at my church. So I said, I'd be glad to. So I walked in the door and I said, oh no, the platform is wrong. And he had no awareness. He changed it. He had no awareness. I don't know. I think I have a little aesthetic sense. And no, that struck me as, just irritating.
So what was the problem in that church?
Well, I don't know for sure. The platform. I think they had a Christian flag, an American flag, and some flowers. And the pulpit was not in the middle. It was behind a potted plant or something. Like that.
Interesting. So it wasn't functional, or it wasn't aesthetically pleasing.
It wasn't aesthetically pleasing, no, to me. Just as that space in that nursing home or whatever it was, it just bothered me. I thought, I can't.
So the beige furniture is as bad as the platform in this church.
Yes, well, in the chapel that was built on our campus, they had a designer. Everything was beige. It was the beige color, the floor, the seats, there weren't pews, the platform, the ceiling. I just went wild.
Can I add something to that?
Yes, indeed.
I think what happens a lot of the times when you're designing for bigger areas, like bigger commercial spaces, the goal is to pick something that is not offensive. So I think a lot of the times people, when they see like bright red furniture, some people are going to be off-put by that, and some people are going to love it. So I think a designer's goal in that scenario is to pick something that is easy for everyone to accept and digest.
But I didn't digest it.
That's understandable.
On our campus, they were going to build some new buildings. And one of the buildings they were going to build was a student center. Okay, so in a faculty meeting, they said, whoever was leading the faculty meeting, I guess the provost said, look outside, we have a design for the new student center. So I walked outside, and here was something that looked like something you'd have in a mall. And I yelled, no. And I had a few faculty members in the art department especially who sided with me, and we changed the architecture, actually.
That's awesome.
Wasn't that something? It was so thrilling to be able to change something,
What about the design did you change and make better?
Well, we're on the West Coast. And California, Southern, and we couldn't have anything that was Gothic. But the one of my friends, who's an art teacher, said, "Well, what about modern Gothic, modern classical?" And because I thought, well, Roman, or architecture, it couldn't be Gothic, and that building was like something in a shopping mall or an office building.
Mm-hmm.
So we got my friend said, well, what? I said to my friend, well, what do you like in a building? And he said, here's a book. I like this. I bought the book. And the business manager gave it to the builder. And he built the building.
I love that.
Isn't that wonderful?
It's wonderful because we live in a time where postmodern architecture is very sad.
Oh, I want you to talk about that a little bit.
Sure.
What do you mean by postmodern architecture?
Architecture built after 1950 has mostly just been cement boxes, and the colors have ranged from white to gray to black, and there hasn't been much ingenuity in architecture. And a quote that I just heard that I really like is that beauty is inherent. It is a fact. You can look at something and know that it's beautiful. And architecture from, neoclassicalism to the Roman age, like all of those eras of architecture, you could look at those buildings and say, wow, that's beautiful. Like you would look at the Pantheon and be like, oh my gosh, this is incredible. Whereas postmodern architecture, you have to be convinced that it is beautiful. And it's not. Most people look at it and they're repulsed by it, or they feel indifferent to it. And so there is a wide disparity between architecture that was built in the modern age versus architecture that has been built for centuries. And the unfortunate part is that those techniques of ancient architecture are going away because we don't have craftsmen that know how to build them anymore.
I have 2 or 3 buildings that I really love. One is Independence Hall in Philadelphia.
Oh.
I love that building. Another is the Air Force Academy Chapel.
I don't think I've ever seen that building.
Well, I think it's open to the sky. Have you ever been in the United Methodist Church here in town?
I have not.
Well, they have it open to like a garden area. I love that, But I love also Canterbury Cathedral. Now I can't tell you why. I just love. I love these buildings.
Yeah. Those are very specific buildings that are definitely not postmodern architecture.
Yes.
I just came back from Europe, and I had been to London and Florence and Paris, and I saw the most beautiful buildings there.
What buildings in particular did you like?
Well, in London, I really loved the Big Ben, which is attached to their administration building, and that is a Gothic building. You were mentioning Gothic architecture before. And that is such a beautiful example of a Gothic cathedral.
And in Paris, what did you admire?
Oh my gosh, in Paris we went to the Louvre, and that building was absolutely beautiful. And that was a palace before it was a museum. And you can tell just the workmanship that went into the construction of the building was so impressive.
Well, I would love to go on, because I have more questions, but we usually limit ourselves. And I can tell you this, if I wanted an interior designer, I know who I'd call on, and it's Callie, right here.
It is Callie.
And she certainly has the right stuffing, I think. Thank you, Callie, for coming on our program.
I'm stoked to be here.
Okay.